Okay, this is Jeff here, and I want to address the AMTA. As Dolores, I think you got, yeah, see, Dolores, you did a post here on attending the AMTA 2022 and some points of it. This specific video, I want to break this down in a couple of videos because I think some of these are different topics. But I want to address your thing about taking notes on linguistic quality analysis. I'll put the ROI estimation as a separate video. All right. These are a lot of theory and practice of MT quality measurement, difference between LQA, linguistic quality analysis, and PEMT, post-editing of machine translation, and raw MT scenarios, and the possible approaches to LQA results and analysis, and the review agreement, rating, and post-editing distance. So I want to cover this from 3 decades of doing this, right? And I've written a book chapter on it. I've written a lot of articles on this, on productivity of post editing, and I have a new book, a video book up on my YouTube channel. It's all free on a simplified approach to quality assessment and analysis, quality assessment and evaluation using a sales approach and customer experience approach. So I want to apply this to this whole thing of machine translation, uh, uh, quality measurements, and then post-editing analysis and post-editing, LQA and all that. That's specifically what this video is about. And so I want to point back to my book in progress, my video book in progress, about, again, simplified approach to quality estimation and assessment. And in that book, which this is going to be a chapter of here, I'm just going to kind of add this into the playlist. And a new section may be called, quality assessment applied to machine translation. I'll make a few videos on this topic, right? I think the really important thing here is and I've made a lot of posts on LinkedIn since 2009, 2010, in the machine translation groups. I made a lot of posts about quality assessment and quality evaluation. From a quality point of view, having run, I've managed software testing teams too. Outside of machine translation, I've done this in all kinds and other fields of telecom software and in predictive different business intelligence software, and in video platform software. And what I've done is I've applied uh, other approaches to quality assessment, quality evaluation, these other software quality testing environments, which have made them sped them up and made them more effective. And so that's what I talk about in my book. And I use the examples of hotels and restaurants. You'll see that how they do it, and actually bathrooms and airports too. Um, that these approaches have helped improve quality assessment, quality evaluation. Now I want to come back to this linguistic quality analysis and LQA and PMET and all this. And I'm going to say, I'm going to be very bold, I think we're doing it wrong. I think we've been doing it wrong for a long time. I think we've been focusing too much on this whole blue kind of approach. I think we've been focusing too much on statistical analysis of edit distance. I think trying to analyze things we've been trying to analyze from the statistical point of view of the edit distance and how far away people move letters and words, right? And I've done this. I mean, my Claw 2000 paper with Chris Hogan on how we built an automated post editor, and we did analysis of text from the European Commission that was given for my doctoral work to analyze, and we came up with 7 different rules of movement, of words, and I always reflect back on this stuff, and that was just based on the corpus. But I'd say that I'm kind of thinking that the way that I've done things has sometimes been wrong. I mean, they've helped me actually improve it to get to a point where I think that a lot of this is what our brains do is different than what we're trying to do is we're trying to analyze what our brains do, right, from the text that we do. But we're not able to actually analyze what's in the mind, what's happening in the process that happened in the mind. And that's where I reviewed Hans Kring's book on post editing, right? And it's up, I did that in the year 2000, 2001. The book came out in 2001. I think I published in 2002. from my bibliography, where he talks about speaking out loud. He talks about how to actually, you're speaking out loud and things are changing while you're doing it, right? And his book dated back 10 years before. That's a good book kind of start with. And just to the rich of my review where I actually explain these things. And the computers have changed a lot too. Going from reading paper text analysis and what you can do with paper, okay, versus what you can do with a computer, and what you can do with speaking, and the whole thing of now with dictation systems and all this stuff, it's way different, right? You actually do it. You actually talk. You can translate in your mind, and then you're actually speaking it out, and you're making it sound fluently in the language of your target language, right? So you're avoiding the whole text to text translation. You're doing text to speech, right? So that's happening in the brain of the person. And so you remove all these issues of edit analysis stuff. And so what we're assuming here is that we're going text to text, right? So this whole thing, the thing that you've mentioned, is this assumption that we're going through text to text, and then we're doing analysis on the text afterwards in the target language, and it's gone through an MT system. And there are different MT systems. Go watch my videos on the different types of MT systems, the different approaches to them, and what they're good for, what they're not good for. And I think that's an important thing too to consider. Which one's best for whatever thing, and how has it been trained to do certain things. But I really want to focus here on the LQA part, the edit distance, and whatever we can call these things, and reviewer agreement. Okay, reviewer agreement. It's okay. So I mean, there are lots of points there. It's going to take a few minutes to explain these. So again, I think that we're focusing too much on edit distance. Okay, we're not focusing on what people do in their mind and how they're simplifying things in their mind to actually get to a point. And we're not actually evaluating too. We haven't. I believe that most of the text in the corpora that we have that we are reviewing have not been annotated to say this is using minimal or rapid post editing, and there's a difference between the two, or this is medium post editing, or this is high quality post editing. There are different levels of high quality post editing. There's not one level. Okay, they're just not one level. A lot of this is, and then sometimes there are mixtures of levels. And everything I've done has been minimal or rapid, and then I take it to a next level, and I might take it to two next levels. And there have been times I've done directly into high quality post editing too. It kind of depended what program, what project I was working on, right? And if it's my own content or not. And depends on my approach. What's the purpose? I believe in purpose-driven machine translation, purpose-driven post editing. You do it for a purpose, and if the purpose is to get a draft done, it's going to be minimal, and you don't care. You don't care. You're not going to do edit distance. You're not going to be changing words around. You're going to be keeping it as minimal as possible. But we don't annotate the things. Say, this was done minimally post-edited, right? Or this was done minimal. You just did it. This is post-editing. This is MT and post-editing, and you just got the job done, right? But because we don't have annotated corpora that say what is it, and that's really important. And I'll say that all the subtitling work I've done for the past several years, 4 years, I have annotated them. So I've actually indicated what the purpose is and why I did it this way, and I've actually indicated when it was done at the first level and it was done at the second, third levels, right? So on subtitle stuff. So I've been very careful to annotate this so that I can have a corpus of each time that is actually quite accurate, and we know what the purpose is, and so we know how to analyze it. And I think this is really important in linguistic quality analysis and evaluation. It's really important. But most of the stuff that we have doesn't have this, right? So, and then the whole thing of PMET. And I'll say that, I mean, if we go back to the J2450, which was kind of the reference point, the SAE's, Society for Automotive Engineering, the J2450, there were other ones too. There was one called Blackjack at the time. I did a whole evaluation of all these things years and years ago. But there were in Multilingual magazine, there were several of these things that came out, right? But and different companies that came up with these different linguistic quality analysis criteria. But J2450 was used highly in the automotive domain. But it wasn't. It came from, it was invented and then was used by highly by them, but it was used by others too. In fact, at TransPerfect, we actually used the J2450 for financial accounting SOX, SOX, back translation. So it was used for that too. And it's used for back translation stuff because it's a great metric to be able to do. But it's very specific. You do a lot of the 8 points that are used in J2450 are very specific. And the whole goal is to actually do the best translation you can and actually have analysis done of it. But this is unnatural, okay? Because what you're trying to do is actually document the change you're making, which takes time, and that slows people down. Whereas sometimes it's better just to do all the work and then apply some statistical analysis to try to figure out what they did, right? And so this is what we're doing though on a lot of our corpus analysis stuff. But we're not actually knowing what we're doing is we're trying to guess at what people did, right? But we didn't go how we're guessing what they did by the results of the change they made, right? But we're not able to actually see what's going on in the brain, which the J2450 allows you to do. When you're doing these 8 different criteria, you're actually saying why you made this change, and every single thing you did, you're able to say, I made this change because of, and you have different 8 categories. And so I think this is really, really important because if you're doing the analysis based on annotation, which J2450 or Blackjack or any of these ones, Lisa's, if you're using any of these ones that actually document why you're making changes, or actually use Han Crane's thinking out loud protocol, okay? Same thing. It's not his protocol. He applied it to post editing, right? That's where you're actually saying and telling why you're making the changes. You're going thinking out loud is great because you're actually doing it at the same time. You're just speaking it. You're saying why I did this, why I did that, why I did this, why I did this. You're saying it. What extemporaneously, what you're actually doing the changes. But if you're doing all the changes, then you're analyzing, like I said, backwards on the results, but not on the process it was done. Then you can come up with actually a statistical analysis. It can be wrong. It can actually be wrong. Or it can be skewed. Okay, I'm going to say skewed. And you won't know why the changes were made in that way. So we might be doing post-editing distance based on partial examples, or based, again, if you don't even know that was done for, again, rapid post-editing, then there won't be many post-editing analysis distance results to actually analyze. So then you're saying, oh, this is great. No, it's not great. It's actually applicable to a specific purpose to middle post-editing, which is not supposed to be perfect, right? Or whatever perfect means, right? Perfection is kind of a big thing too, right? Go watch my videos on approximation. My book on simplified approach to quality analysis, because I talk about approximation, and this all applies. The whole thing applies. All this applies actually to post-editing, and to machine translation first, on how you evaluate machine translation raw results, and then how applied on the post-editing results too. And I think that we're trying to over-engineer this thing. We're trying to do it too much. We're spending too much time applying all these analyses, even on the statistical approaches to analyze these. And I think that it comes to a point where we are assuming that what we're doing. Now, and this is where I want to come back down to the kind of the idea of my approach to simplified quality assessment on the Rule 3. Okay, just the Rule 3. If we do a Rule 3 all the time, then we'll be able to do this faster. Again, but it will not be always full. Okay, it'll not be a full. It won't be a full evaluation. It'll be an evaluation that allows us to get to the point where we're actually doing it faster. Okay, and sometimes faster is better, and sometimes faster gets the job done. Okay, but you might have to apply different levels, and that's where I think it's really important to look at my how I took the approach of the 3, 5, 7, 9 of the evaluation criteria. Level 3, only 3 criteria, then 5 criteria, then 7 criteria, 9 criteria. Watch that video on that, okay, in my book, my video book. Because then if we apply this to post-editing, it's the same thing as post-editing levels. It's actually subtitling levels. I've applied the same thing as subtitling, or it's caption, monolingual caption post-editing. But if we take the approach, then I take the same level and just apply it, the same thing, to post-editing, monolingual or bilingual or multilingual post-editing of text that can be both speech-driven, speech-enabled, or text-enabled, or what do you want to call this? Text-generated or speech-generated, right? Speech to text-generated. But I think these are I think there's some really key points, um, and a lot of this, again, I really want to say that we need to be careful by analyzing texts that are not annotated, or to assume that what we have is based on non unannotated text in which we don't know why the people did it, what was the purpose, what was the process in their mind, and we can have a lot cleaner results and a lot better analysis if we have stuff that's annotated. But again, and then some of the problem, I'll say it here, that the problem with annotated text is that it's private and confidential, right? This is the problem. This is where the whole private intellectual property comes into place. So many people have not even explained it because all the jobs, like all my telecom stuff I did, the AMTA 2004, I couldn't give the text away because there's confidential content, right? There's no way I could give it away. So that's why I went and did one of my papers in 2005, 2006, 2005, I think it was 2006, on dictionary building that was done by Translator Cafe. I actually provided the content because I asked Multilingual Press to actually let me use their Fuse press articles, the press releases, as the content and to republish them. So I was able to completely help republish, and and I said, this is minimal post-editing. And it was based on dictionary building with minimal post-editing. No post-editing. There was no post-editing. It was actually done without post-editing process, but you can apply the post-editing afterwards and then analyze it the same way. So I think these, again, it's really important if there's annotation on it, no annotation, to look at it, and then how you do the analysis of the LQA. And post any desk comes into the whole rating comes into the whole rating thing. I talked about the rating here, and the whole editing rating is in my book. Okay, I talked about 3579. It's all about rating, and review agreement. Look, see my book where I talk about the red pen syndrome. Okay, and the red pen syndrome is people want to add value. They're trying to prove they're adding value. So they're going to make red marks because they want to prove they had something in the process. Whereas the whole idea of post-editing is to not make the changes, right? It's to not make the least amount of changes. So it's action contradiction. The whole thing of reviewer agreement is a contradiction of review agreement, reviewer rating, okay, is in direct contradiction potentially with post-editing, okay? Because post-editing, the whole goal of the whole thing from the beginning was to do the least amount of changes, right? It wasn't to do full post-editing. It was, and I think, another thing we need to look at this is why these videos get long. It's like an onion that we have more onion skins just adding and adding to this. This gets kind of, I need to break these things down into separate videos, right? The whole thing of having these changes, I think what's happened with post-emission translations, we started with real with content gisting, with MT for just basic communication, content gisting, outbound or inbound translation needs, and then we've moved to a whole translation for publication, outbound translation process. We're trying to apply the rating, the linguistic quality analysis and rating on 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 outbound translation for purpose translation as if it were inbound content gisting. And I think that's wrong. I think it's totally wrong. I think we need to have different levels. We need to have LQA for inbound, LQA for outbound, outbound, translate for, content gisting, translate for application. There's some video about this. And I think we need to have different levels. And we need to make sure if it's annotated, non-annotated. I think those are really key. And once we have that, then we can begin to consider the appropriateness of these different things. Again, none of this is wrong. I'm really not trying to say that anything we're doing is wrong. I think this is discovery. And I've been on this discovery path for 30 years, except I've been doing it. And a lot of the projects were really expensive. And so they had a lot of funding. And so I had the time to actually do this in a certain way. And I worked for Sistrand, I worked for CMU, and where I had the time to do this. Well, at the time, it was my job to do these things, right? And I came up with a lot of approaches that were highly productive, and people have always questioned that, and that's okay, because I was doing things differently, and I was doing things applying it from a different point of view. And I think that point of view came from the fact that I came from different environments, and not outside of this whole language thing. I came from telecom too, and I think that and big data, I came from big data and context and predictive analytics and business intelligence. I think that's and like math, doing GIS math stuff. I think that in financial accounting software, I think that all these things have helped me come from a different point of view and see how you can apply this, not for high quality languages, because most people don't care. In the end, they don't care. They care what the message got across, right? And subtitling, my whole subtitling thing and caption stuff over the past several years has really been focused on people need the message. They don't care. The people are hard of hearing and deaf. They don't care about how perfect the branding is of the words. They care about, do they understand the words right? They'll understand the context, right? They'll understand the branding effects. They don't need to have the exact capital letters and punctuation. They just need to understand it, right? And I think we need to be. That's why I'm applying this and I'm talking about this stuff, because I think this is really key. So I'm sad I can't come to these conferences. I have a conference budget to do this stuff, right? So travel conference budget, I have stuff. So I just do this in video format. It's a lot easier to get the stuff out, and I don't have to worry about, you know, doing proposals 6 months in advance, right? So it just all works. But I think that these are great topics. Lots of happening here, and I'm watching the field, really interested in what people are doing, trying to comment as much as I can, and get my stuff out there too, to talk about it and have people critique it. I'm fine with people critiquing my stuff. It's great. It makes us all advance. So, hey, it's great. Lots of food for thought. I totally agree with you, Dolores. I totally agree with you. It's just I think we need to be careful because of the points I've talked about, especially on uneducated stuff. So great. Have a great day. Jeff out.